In the pursuit of power, what you don't say often speaks louder than what you do. Silence is not emptiness. It is architecture, a deliberate void that shapes perception more effectively than any declaration. Most men destroy themselves not by what they lack, but by what they reveal. Every word you utter, every truth you confess, every emotion you display, hands the world a piece of your strategy. And once they know your rhythm, they can predict your next move. Control begins with mystery. Mystery begins with a mission. Ask yourself, how much of your strength do you waste explaining yourself to those who do not deserve understanding? How often have your intentions been used against you because you could not resist the urge to clarify, to prove, to justify? To speak too freely is to surrender the advantage of uncertainty. To remain partially hidden is to remain feared, respected, and untouchable. Throughout history, the powerful have ruled through what they concealed, not what they confessed. Julius Caesar never revealed the full extent of his ambitions to the Senate. He allowed his calm, measured silence to veil the storm beneath. By the time they realized his plan, to turn the Republic into an empire, he had already crossed the Rubicon. He knew what every manipulator eventually learns: information is ammunition, and every unnecessary word is a bullet you hand to your enemy. The weak mistake transparency for honesty. They bleed truth in every conversation, hoping it will earn trust. But trust earned through exposure is fragile. It vanishes the moment someone learns too much. The strong understand that partial truth is more persuasive than complete truth. A half-revealed story invites imagination, and imagination, once awakened, fills the silence with reverence or fear. This is the psychological power of omission. When you leave gaps, others project their own desires and fears into them. They complete your story in the way that benefits you. In relationships, silence becomes a mirror. The more you say, the more predictable you become. The less you reveal, the more they wonder. That wondering turns into fascination, and fascination turns into control. Consider this. When someone withholds words in an argument, who feels the discomfort? It is not the silent one, it is the talker. Anxious to fill the space, desperate to decode what the silence means. In their over-explanation, they expose themselves, while you remain unreadable. Power always belongs to the one who can endure silence longer. Psychologically, this stems from what researchers call the need for cognitive closure, a human compulsion to fill uncertainty with meaning. You can weaponize that instinct. When you leave things unsaid, others will invent their own explanations, and the story they create will often serve your agenda better than the truth ever could. Even in leadership, omission is strength. A ruler who speaks too often loses authority. His words become common, predictable, easily dismissed. But a ruler who speaks sparingly turns every sentence into an event. People wait for his words because they are rare, and rarity creates value. That is why kings use decrees, not conversations. That is why the most feared negotiators speak less than everyone else in the room. Their silence forces others to reveal their terms first, and in doing so, their weakness. In your own life, begin to test this. Say less than necessary. Withhold explanations when accused. Let people guess your motives. You will feel the discomfort at first, because silence demands confidence. But once you master it, you'll see how quickly others bend to fill your silence with obedience. The art of omission is not about deception. It is about control of perception. You are not lying, you are guiding. You are shaping how others think without the noise of excess words. Remember, the truth, when spoken fully, is like a weapon left on the table. Anyone can pick it up and use it against you, but the truth half hidden remains yours, veiled, potent, and unreachable. The masters of power always understood this. They ruled not through constant speech, but through calculated absence. Their silence became legend, their ambiguity, myth, and in the shadows of their omissions, men built temples of fear and respect. So the next time you feel the need to explain, resist. Let your silence do the talking. Let uncertainty work for you, not against you. Because once people think they know you, you become predictable, and the predictable cannot rule. True power never announces itself. It does not shout. It does not struggle. It simply is. Effortless dominance is the highest form of control. The point where others obey not because you demand it, but because they cannot imagine defying you. Most people confuse power with pressure. They think control requires noise, orders, or constant displays of strength. But in truth, the greatest power lies in composure, a calm so complete that others feel smaller in its presence. Ask yourself, who do you fear more? The man who yells, or the one who looks through you in silence, unmoved by your emotion? The former spends energy trying to appear strong. The latter radiates strength without motion. That difference is everything. The appearance of effort is weakness, because effort reveals you are trying. And the one who tries is not yet in command. The one who already is does not need to try. Throughout history, the most feared rulers understood this. Consider the Venetian doges, who ruled behind masks and ceremony. They rarely appeared in public, and when they did, they spoke softly, their faces unreadable. People projected majesty upon them because they remained unreachable. That is the secret when you appear untouchable. People worship your calm as proof of superiority. Effortless dominance is not about arrogance. It is about psychological gravity. You become the fixed point around which others revolve. Your calm becomes their measure of worth. In psychology, this is called the authority effect. Humans instinctively defer to those who seem certain, even when that certainty is a farce aid. Confidence, when performed with precision, bends perception, and perception is what creates obedience. So, how do you master this? By breaking the habit of visible effort. When you argue, you reveal insecurity. When you chase, you reveal need. When you explain yourself, you reveal doubt. But when you remain still, confident that the world will orbit you, others begin to move accordingly. It begins in your tone, your posture, your pace. The dominant man does not rush. He speaks slowly, moves minimally, and allows silence to do his bidding. Because silence in power is not emptiness, it is weight. It presses down on others until they fill it with submission. Imagine a negotiation. Your opponent lists demands, gestures wildly, tries to prove his dominance through noise. You listen, you remain unmoved. When you finally speak, calmly, decisively, with few words, your restraint crushes his momentum. He feels it even if he cannot explain it. Because composure unsettles the chaotic. This principle governs every human interaction. In relationships, those who appear emotionally unaffected control the pace of attachment. In politics, those who project inevitability win before the vote is cast. In leadership, those who exude calm authority become symbols, not just individuals. But make no mistake, effortless dominance is not natural. It is constructed. It is the result of ruthless internal discipline. You must train your mind to remain still while others panic. You must learn to feel deeply yet show nothing. Because emotion displayed is leverage lost. Power requires restraint, not aggression. The lion that lounges under the tree is more feared than the one that chases every prey. Why? Because his stillness implies choice, the freedom to strike or not to strike. Choice is the essence of control. So, in every room you enter, ask yourself, who appears to have the most choice? Who seems least affected by the chaos around them? That person, whether they speak or not, holds the throne. The world bows not to those who fight hardest, but to those who appear unshakable. It is the illusion of unbothered certainty that bends minds. Once others believe you cannot be provoked, they cease trying. And when they stop trying, you have already won. Look at great conquerors. Alexander, Augustus, even modern leaders of industry. Their legend was not built on constant effort, but on image, the aura of control that made others serve their myth. They understood that dominance is not about force. It is about presence, power sustained without tension, control maintained without movement. And when others finally bow, it is not because you demanded it, but because something in your stillness made them believe they should. That is the ultimate victory, to command without lifting a hand, to inspire obedience through quiet inevitability, to rule not through fear of punishment, but through fear of your indifference. Effortless dominance is not about doing nothing. It is about doing just enough to appear beyond effort. You prepare in silence, move in precision, and allow the world to mistake your discipline for destiny. Because when they believe your strength is natural, when they think it was never earned but simply is, your reign becomes eternal. Control is never about chains. It is about influence unseen. You do not command by shouting. You command by planting thoughts that others mistake for their own. When they move according to your design, and call it choice, you have achieved true mastery. Remember this, the greatest power is not to be obeyed, but to be believed. To guide others without their awareness is to become the architect of their will. That is the art of invisible control, subtle, silent, absolute. Ask yourself, how often have you been led while thinking you led? How often have you played another's game, believing it was yours? Every empire, every relationship, every system thrives on this illusion. Now, if you understand, if you see the elegance in quiet manipulation, then you are no longer the pawn. Comment your thoughts below. Reveal what you've observed or what you've done. Subscribe to learn the next law of subtle power, and share this with those who think they cannot be controlled. Let them learn, too late, who truly holds the strings. Power does not fade because of lack of opportunity. It fades because of exhaustion. Every act of attention, every burst of emotion, every argument, every reaction costs energy. And those who spend it carelessly soon become slaves to those who conserve it. You may think money rules the world. It does not. Money is only a tool. The real currency of influence is energy, focus, composure, and the ability to direct emotion where it serves you most. Have you noticed how some people walk into a room and seem to drain everyone's strength, yet never lose their own? That is not charisma. It is energetic control. Most people are constantly leaking power. They waste it on outrage, gossip, jealousy, and the endless need to prove themselves. They burn through attention like a candle in a storm, flickering bright, then gone. Meanwhile, the strategist watches quiet, still, absorbing. Think of energy as the blood of power. Without it, your mind collapses into reactivity. You cannot calculate, persuade, or dominate if your emotions command you. The ancients understood this. In Roman times, the Stoics practiced restraint not because they were emotionless, but because they knew emotion was expensive. Anger, lust, pride, each one steals the energy needed for rule. A man ruled by feelings can never rule others. And yet, look around. Modern man is addicted to reaction. One insult online, and he explodes. One delay in reward, and he collapses. He bleeds his energy into every digital provocation, every meaningless distraction, while someone else, calm and calculating, feeds on his chaos. You see, energy flows toward control. The one who remains composed becomes the gravitational center. Others begin to orbit him, their emotions drawn into his stillness. This is not mysticism, it is psychology. In social dynamics, we call it emotional contagion, the process by which the dominant state infects the group. If you are calm, you spread calm. If you are frantic, you spread weakness. Therefore, control your energy, and you command the mood of the room. History is written by those who mastered this unseen economy. Napoleon, for example, understood that his soldiers didn't follow orders. They followed energy. He radiated certainty even when surrounded by defeat. That aura, the illusion of unbreakable confidence, recharged the weary hearts of his men. But when his composure cracked, his empire followed. Energy is influence made invisible. The masses follow whoever feels most certain, not whoever is most right. And so, ask yourself, where does your energy go each day? How much of it is stolen by distraction, by envy, by the endless craving for approval? Every moment you spend explaining yourself to fools, you pay a price. Every emotional reaction you surrender to, you donate power to someone else. Those who know this principle never fight every battle. They conserve energy for moments that matter. This is the difference between the powerful and the powerless. The powerful choose their wars. The powerless fight them all. Think of a chess master. He does not move out of emotion, he moves out of necessity. Each piece, each sacrifice is measured in energy. He wins not by playing harder, but by draining his opponent's patience and composure. The board is a metaphor for life. The calm mind always outlasts the restless one. There is also a more personal truth here. Energy determines perception. When you walk with heavy energy, people sense weakness even if you say nothing. When your energy is light, steady, and contained, people feel your presence even in silence. Power radiates from conservation, not from display. But most people confuse high energy with strong energy. They chase stimulation, parties, noise, validation, thinking it proves vitality. In truth, that kind of energy burns quickly. Real power is dense, focused, and quiet, like the pressure before a storm. Learn to treat your energy as a treasury. Spend it only where return is guaranteed. Withdraw it from anyone or anything that drains without purpose. When you master this, you no longer need to chase power. It begins to seek you. Because energy, once contained, becomes magnetism. Others feel it before they understand it. They begin to respect your boundaries, follow your tone, align with your rhythm. Without words, you set the tempo of every interaction. So remember this, energy is not infinite. Each wasted reaction shortens your reach. Each careless burst of emotion gives away a piece of your empire. Guard your energy as a ruler guards his gold. Let others burn themselves, proving their worth. You remain calm, focused, and still, for when your energy is untouchable, your power becomes inevitable. The true ruler does not move. He makes others move. In the game of power, motion is labor. And labor is best reserved for servants, soldiers, and fools. The master's role is to command direction, not to share in the struggle. You see, most people exhaust themselves proving control. They chase, persuade, and push, believing effort equals influence. But the wise understand the opposite influence is when others move for you, while believing it was their idea. That is the hidden art of delegated motion. Look closely at history and you will see its pattern. Kings never fought their own wars. They sent generals. Generals never swung their own swords. They commanded men's hands. Even religion, the grandest empire of all, moves billions of people through symbols, faith, and fear, not through force. Power flows from those who can transfer their will into the minds of others. This is psychological economy. You trade direction for obedience. You preserve your energy while the world burns it on your behalf. Ask yourself, when was the last time you moved because of someone else's idea without realizing it? A superior's tone, a lover's silence, a friend's suggestion that seemed harmless. Every day, people are set in motion by invisible strings, and only the few recognize who holds them. To delegate motion is to master the illusion of autonomy. The other person must feel free even as they act in your interest, because the moment they realize they are being controlled, they resist. But when they think it is their choice, they will defend your agenda as their own. This is how rulers are made. They shape desire itself. Consider the Roman Senate. The cunning leaders rarely forced votes. They allowed their rivals to speak first, to feel powerful, and then subtly guided the conclusion toward what they had already planned. Their opponents left the chamber believing they had won. But every decision still served the same invisible architect. That is power without friction. Psychologically, this works because humans crave agency. We would rather be wrong on our own terms than right under command. So the manipulator never commands. He suggests. He does not push, he plants. He lets the seed of motion grow naturally in the mind of the other. By the time they act, they cannot separate their will from his influence. Observe how this appears in everyday life. The skilled manager never orders. He implies. He says, perhaps you should take the lead on this, and the ambitious worker feels honored to carry his burden. The charming manipulator in relationships never demands attention, he withdraws slightly. And the other moves toward him to restore balance. He rules through gravity, not through force. Delegated motion also protects you. When others act for you, you remain untouched by failure. If they succeed, if they fail, they take the fall. Your name stays clean, your control intact. This distance is the armor of rulers. They act through instruments, never through impulse. It is not coldness, it is efficiency. A ruler must remain above the chaos he commands. Like a chess player, he moves pieces while his hands never touch the fight itself. But understand this, to make others move, your will must be precise. You cannot command what you do not understand. Unclear intent leads to rebellion. Vague manipulation leads to confusion. The master of motion speaks little, but every word is weighted. Every gesture, timed. Every silence, designed to create movement without instruction. In politics, in business, even in love, control belongs to the one who acts indirectly. Direct action provokes defense. Indirect suggestion plants compliance. And the one who can shape another's motion, without ever appearing to try, rules both the action and the actor. Ask yourself, are you the hand that moves, or the hand that is moved? How often do you exhaust yourself chasing results that someone else has quietly engineered? You may think you are working for your own goals. But look deeper. Perhaps your ambition is serving someone else's vision. Someone patient enough to let you believe it was yours. To delegate motion is to create invisible chains, not of iron, but of desire. Chains that people wrap around themselves willingly, proudly, even gratefully. And when they pull against them, they only tighten your hold. So preserve your stillness, speak less, imply more, guide without touching. The true master never raises his hand, yet the world moves at his command. Most people drown in effort, mistaking motion for progress. But Machiavelli understood a darker truth. Power does not belong to the one who works the hardest. It belongs to the one who makes others move for him. In this video, we uncover why doing less, strategically, makes you the true master of gain. Look around you. The world worships activity. Men exhaust themselves chasing status, money, and validation, while the true players remain still, silent, calculating. In the theater of power, energy is a resource, and fools burn it freely. The wise, however, understand that restraint is a weapon. To do less is not laziness. It is precision. It is the art of moving pieces without moving oneself. Machiavelli saw this centuries ago. Control is not achieved through force, but through the illusion of effort delegated to others. Tonight, we peel back the illusion and study how inactivity, when used deliberately, becomes the most dangerous form of action. The weak believe that effort is noble. They believe sweat is proof of virtue. They confuse exhaustion with achievement. But power does not reward the exhausted. It rewards the composed, the one who moves least but commands the most. Tell me, when you watch a man scrambling to prove himself, do you admire him? Or do you sense desperation? Effort, when visible, becomes a confession. It reveals that you need something: approval, victory, validation. And need is weakness. It tells the world that you are not in control, that your worth must be earned rather than assumed. Those who hold real influence never appear to chase it. They let others do the running. In every court, every company, every relationship, there is always one who does more and one who gains more. They are never the same person. History remembers the strategists who understood this illusion. Consider Cesare Borgia, the man whom princes feared and Machiavelli admired. He rarely displayed effort. He moved slowly, decisively, as if time itself obeyed him. His enemies, desperate to anticipate his next strike, revealed their weaknesses through haste. By the time they acted, he had already won, not through speed, but through control. His secret was simple: make others sweat in your place. Most people mistake movement for dominance. They rush to speak first, to prove themselves, to make their presence known. But every visible act is a card exposed. Every attempt to impress hands your opponent information about your goals, your fears, your desires. The powerful understand that mystery is leverage. They let others interpret their silence as strategy. And in that silence, others begin to project, to assume, to worry, to fill in the blanks with fear. That is the illusion of effort. The less you show, the more others imagine. And imagination, once ignited, does your work for you. In psychology, this is called the projection effect. People fill the unknown with the reflection of their own mind. If you seem calm, they assume you have control. If you seem certain, they assume you have power. Even when you do nothing, their assumptions move mountains. The world's greatest manipulators never needed to shout their dominance. They let others hand it to them out of reverence, or fear of what they might do next. You see, effort has a smell. It reeks of insecurity. When a man tries too hard to appear confident, his gestures betray him. When a leader demands loyalty, his tone exposes doubt. True control is quiet, like a shadow that doesn't ask to be seen. Imagine a workplace. Two individuals compete for the same promotion. One works visibly late, sends messages to prove diligence, makes sure everyone sees his grind. The other arrives calm, contributes minimally, yet speaks with the tone of one who expects victory. Who do you think the room respects more? Effort without aura breeds pity. Restraint, combined with composure, breeds authority. The art lies not in doing nothing, but in appearing to do little while directing the flow of others' energy toward your ends. You become the conductor, not the instrument. It is a subtle form of dominance, not through power displayed, but power presumed. When others believe you possess control, they behave as if you do. This is the core of all manipulation, to make others act in your favor without realizing they are doing so. This illusion extends into every realm: love, politics, business, even daily conversation. When you pursue affection too eagerly, you devalue yourself. When you chase success too visibly, you signal dependence on luck and recognition. But when you remain detached, others chase you. Even kings understood this. They knew that ruling through spectacle was dangerous, for spectacle reveals effort. Better to rule through silence, through presence, through the expectation of power. Because once people believe you are untouchable, you no longer need to prove it. Their fear becomes your armor, their imagination your weapon. The illusion of effort, then, is not about doing nothing. It is about concealing the something you do. You plan, you calculate, you influence quietly. Like poison in wine, your power spreads unseen. So ask yourself, how much of what you do is truly necessary, and how much is merely a performance for those you wish to impress? Who truly benefits from your visible effort? You, or those who stand still and watch you work? Understand this truth. The world crowns the man who appears effortless, because effort exposes humanity, but stillness suggests divinity. And in the game of power, those who appear divine are obeyed without question. There are moments when the most dangerous thing you can do is nothing. Not out of weakness, not out of fear, but out of calculation. Stillness, when chosen deliberately, becomes a weapon sharper than any sword. The impatient act, the powerful wait. You see, the world is addicted to reaction. One insult, one rumor, one challenge, and men rush to defend their pride. They strike too soon, speak too much, reveal too easily, and in their rush to respond, they hand away what the patient man collects silently: information. You've witnessed this, haven't you? Someone provokes you, and before you think, you reply. In that instant, they already know who controls the frame. You dance to a tune they composed. Strategic stillness breaks this cycle. It confuses the impulsive, disarms the emotional, and draws out the truth hidden behind their noise. In Renaissance courts, silence was the language of power. The clever prince never revealed whether he was pleased or angered. Ambassadors left his presence unsure if they had triumphed or failed, and in that uncertainty, they exposed themselves, over-explaining, flattering, revealing motives that a single word might have concealed. Stillness turns others into mirrors, showing you everything they hide from themselves. Consider the battlefield. A reckless commander rushes forward, eager to display strength. His army burns its energy, his formation collapses, and the opponent, waiting patiently, strikes when exhaustion blinds him. Victory, then, belongs not to the one who moved first, but to the one who moved last and with precision. That is the nature of stillness. It is not inactivity, but control disguised as calm. You may call it emotional discipline. Psychologists call it delayed response. But in the game of power, it is something deeper: the manipulation of timing. Because timing is dominance. He who decides when something happens, decides how it happens. Observe the manipulator. He withholds answers. He pauses before speaking. He lets silence stretch just long enough to make you question your own words. That pause, that unbearable quiet, is where he wins. Because you rush to fill it, revealing what he wanted to know all along. Strategic stillness feeds on human discomfort. Most people cannot bear silence. It exposes their anxiety. They crave resolution, attention, noise. Anything that proves they still matter. And when they meet your calm, they break. They start performing, explaining, proving. Their own mind becomes your ally. The mind, after all, is easily provoked by emptiness. When you stop reacting, others begin to imagine your next move. They replay your silence in their thoughts, giving it meaning it never had. You become unpredictable, and unpredictability is the essence of control. History shows this again and again. When Rome trembled under threat, great leaders didn't panic. They watched, measured, let their enemies overextend in arrogance. Then they struck once, decisively, when the other side had exhausted itself with motion. Stillness is not passivity, it is positioning. Think of it in your own life. Someone insults you publicly. Do you lash out to defend your pride, or do you let silence poison their confidence? Someone withdraws affection. Do you chase them, or let absence breed curiosity? Every reaction you suppress increases your leverage, because stillness forces the other side to act without guidance. And when they move in the dark, you remain in control of the light. Even in business, this principle rules. The calm negotiator, who listens more than he speaks, learns what the talkative one hides. The investor who waits when others panic buys when fear has drained the market of its reason. Power grows not in noise, but in silence. Ask yourself, how often do you act just to feel in control? And how many times did that impulse betray you? To master stillness is to master perception. You become unreadable, and what cannot be read cannot be predicted. What cannot be predicted cannot be defeated. The still mind becomes a mirror of inevitability. It invites mistakes without lifting a hand, and when the moment finally arrives, your single movement, subtle, precise, almost invisible, carries the weight of inevitability. Because to those who've watched you in silence, your eventual action feels like destiny. And destiny cannot be argued with. So remember this. Power is not always loud, nor swift, nor violent. Sometimes it stands in the corner, arms folded, saying nothing, while the world destroys itself, trying to guess its next move. Stillness is not absence. It is presence intensified.